Happy Friday, artists. Here we are with another painting. Today, we are doing a very artistic painting of paintbrushes. Paintbrushes, can you see this one? Paintbrushes painted on, painting and painted on. Okay, this is a really fun one because of course we use the technique of splattering some paint, and we do it very controlled so that we know where it's going to go. We don't get it all over the place, and well, maybe we get it a little bit all over the place. So be very careful. If you have a smock, you could put that on. If you have something paint worthy to wear something paint worthy, but most of your stuff should wash off. Okay, let's jump right in. Okay, today's artist actually is an inspiring artist. I really love some of his work, and I kind of modeled another project that we did. If you guys remember that paperclip, I don't know if you remember that paperclip project that we did. We did like a little paper clips on a card. That project that we did, it is really reminiscent of this. It has he used to take objects and he'd put them down, and sometimes he'd trace them, sometimes he'd spray paint over them, sometimes he would just draw them. He was a very good artist. He could really draw things realistically, but some of the time he'd just like actually spray paint it and get the shape of it and then draw it inside of that shape. He did all kinds of really fun stuff. In any event, the tools of the trade, he drew a lot of tools, and I mean some of those tools were interesting, kind of like he had a bathrobe. It's kind of like it's like a weekend tool, kind of a tool you'd use on a weekend, but here you have kind of a snippers or something. And here's our project. This one is paintbrushes, paintbrushes and paint. And here you can see a bunch of different paintbrushes. I suggest you look at this and right now take as many good ideas as you can from it. Let's look at these interesting shapes. These are not at all symmetrical, but look at how fun this is. So our objective today is to illustrate light and shadow in objects, in color, and in reflection. So in the reflection, as you see here, of the light coming through. And this is a Jim Dine. Look at this one. Here we go. Look at these bristles. These look like very well used brushes or even unreal brushes. Look at how interesting the handles are and how interesting the shapes of these are. Very fun, very exciting. Okay, your materials you need for today. So pause this once this screen is up and get assemble yourself. You need paper. The thicker paper, the better, because this, again, this is watercolor, so it will come through the back. The thinner the paper, the harder it'll be to paint around on it. Although you could technically use a thin paper for this. You just have to be real careful. Pencil. Your brush tip marker. This came in your art supply kit. So your brush tip marker, you have to use this one. If you use the one I used, which is just one that I had on hand, mine is not water resistant, so it got a little bit messy, but we made it through. Watercolor paints and oil pastels are optional. What I would say that you might want to do is come in afterward, after all the splatter painting has been done, and you can come in and color these, the painting handles. You can color those over with any color you'd like, and that could look really neat. The other thing you could do is use your white to make reflection on the paint. So if you look right here on our screen, look at how this white is sort of popped right on top of the paint, and it makes it look shiny. Well, you can do that with a white oil pastel on top. So that's optional. You're not going to have to do that. We're just going to do the base painting, and then you add whatever you'd like, however creative you're feeling. Okay, so here's our painting. Here's the painting. We're going to get started, but first, our norms. We anticipate mistakes, we respect the creative process, and we try until we're satisfied. So here we go.
Okay, so here we are. Here's our piece of paper. We're not going to tape it today. This is sort of such an informal piece, and it's sort of like, you know, it's got like that really loose splattery feel. You could tape it, and if you did tape it, it would show. It would be like, it might be a nice contrast against some of the splatter paints that we have. But let's see. Let's just see what this looks like. I think untaped is going to be better. All right. So let's see. We're going to do 5 brushes. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how big they're going to be or how little they're going to be. So the nice thing is it doesn't really matter. We want to do, I like to do an uneven number. And the main reason I like to do the uneven number is because I think that it kind of gives us more to look at. When things are in pairs, you start to group them off in your mind. And I don't really want us to do that. I want us to feel a little like we're not sure where one goes. I think that gives us a little more to think about. So I'm going to start. First, I'm going to just imagine where the middle of my page is. And I don't necessarily want my first brush to be right in the middle, but I'm going to do kind of a, I don't think I'm going to do a big brush in the middle. I think I'm going to do my big brush a little bit off to the side. So this is about the middle. I'm just guessing, not really necessarily the middle, but I'm going to do sort of a medium brush. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle for this brush. I'm going to draw another brush here. That's 2. I'm going to draw a big brush here. 3. Let's see, I'm going to draw a really little one here. I'm going to draw sort of a medium one, another medium one. Now, I don't know, these are just sketch parts. Now from here, I have a bunch of different brushes for us to look at, including the one I'm going to be using. I have a bunch of different brushes to look at. So these aren't like the big painting brushes, but you can see they have sort of an area. Some of them are flat, some of them are round. So you can see that metal part. Some of them have been flattened out. You can see this is flat. Whereas this one, even if I turn it around and around and around, it's just round the whole way around. So these are called flat brushes, and these are called round brushes. And this one's going to be more like a round brush. So this one's going to be sort of like a round brush. These are all going to be types of flat brushes, but some of these are going to be like those big brushes that we saw. So, so here I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. I'm going to try and draw a handle. And I just want it to be a little bit symmetrical. So this is just a guess. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. But in my pencil drawing, it's not perfect. And that's okay, but I'm going to put a little hole in the bottom. And here, I don't know how this is going to look, but maybe I'm kind of making up a paintbrush bottom here. Put a hole in that one too. This one, maybe, I like the sort of angular, it looks a little bit like a tie. Here, maybe I'll do a little of both. And notice how I'm drawing, I don't know if you can see this very well, but notice how I'm drawing a couple of lines. The first couple I didn't draw, I didn't know if I liked them. So I can either erase or just know which ones I really like. And then here, this one's just gonna come, I don't know if I can focus this in. There we go. Oh, that's so much better. You learn something new every day, you guys. This document camera is kind of new to me. Now here's one trick I want to show you. When I draw this line, I could either go like this and try and draw it straight, and it's going to probably curve because the way my hand goes does tend to curve. The other thing I could do is I could use my arm, and I could do this. I have a nice movement. I can move my arm straight up and down just by sliding my hand on the paper. So I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to slide my hand down. And then here I'm just going to slide my hand down. And it wasn't exactly where I wanted, but I can change it a little bit so that I just I like that it goes out here. That feels more real to me, actually. I think that's how a real paintbrush goes. Look, and in fact, look at how this one kind of comes out here. Didn't even really notice that. I just noticed it when I drew this. It was wrong. It was not what I expected, and it came out right. That, folks, is called serendipity. When you draw something, or when you do something that you perceive as being wrong, but it turns out to be the most right thing you could have done. That is serendipity. It's good luck. It's sort of like the luck. Okay, and then for this one, maybe I'll do sort of like this guy. Oh, I like this little line in here. Oh, maybe that's the line. Maybe this is the tip. And here's the little line, and then from here it goes down here, and it has two little curved rings, and then it has a handle. Definitely not as long, but that's okay. Okay, so now what's not in here are those bristles. And that's okay because I'm actually going to make this one a little bit longer. I like that they're uneven. I want them to be a little bit uneven. Okay, so here I have, the next thing to draw is the bristles. Now, I don't need to really draw these with my pencil because when I come in with my my marker, I think it'll be much clearer. Okay, so I have my marker, and I'm gonna have to be really, really, really careful with this because in my case, I do not have the marker that you guys do, and your marker is water resistant. My marker is a little bit water soluble. So here, I'm gonna really softly draw the lines that I drew with my pencil. And I already made sure that I liked these lines with my pencil. So even if they're not perfect, there's still something. Now, sometimes these have lines across like this. Sometimes they have a seam right here. Maybe two little nails. Sometimes this one doesn't really have a noticeable seam. Notice how I'm checking. I'm looking in at actual brushes. And that's one thing that helps. If you can look in at actual brushes, and I'm not even connecting it there because it was too hard to connect and be accurate. Notice how I am moving my whole arm when I draw this one. I'm sliding my whole arm down the page. And I'm going to do it also with this one too. So once you have these drawn in and you like them, when you drew them in with your pencil, you're easily ready to take the next step and draw them in marker. But it's nice to draw them in first. Whoops, I made a little mistake there, but that's okay. I made a little mistake down here too, but you know me and mistakes. Okay. So now it's time to draw the bristles. And since we're using this brush tip marker, can you see it here? No, of course, why not? Let's look at it here. So when you're using this brush tip marker, there are two ways to use it to get the best point possible, which is to sort of just touch the tip down or to flatten it out and get a thick line. So what I want to start with is the end of the brush where the bristles are the thinnest. And then I want to draw down to the main. And now you think, oh, is she going to draw all of those? Well, no, I'm not going to draw all of them, but now one thing I think you could do, I haven't got a piece of copy paper, but any paper would do. If I put a piece of paper right here at the edge, just covering most of this line, watch what happens when I draw. I don't have to worry about where I stop. That look. We'll add another one or two there. And I think I could do the same thing here, just cover almost all of it up. And then I think I'm going to make this one sort of a, they call this a cat's tongue tip. And then here, maybe I could make this an angled bristle. I could make this an angled brush by doing this side higher and this side lower, or maybe even backward like this. So there's sometimes we have angled brushes, and here's an angled brush. So this one, you see this is straight right here, but then this one comes down on an angle. So I could do that for this one. Make this an angled brush. Maybe I'll do the tall side up here because that's more unusual. And then the only thing I have to be really careful about is if I'm angling it well. So now once I've got that angle, I can just come in and draw the rest of that brush. This one is going to be one of those round brushes. So again, a little bit like the cat's tongue, but it'll kind of go to a point and just be sort of rounded. And here I can do a similar sort of thing. Just make almost like a little leaf shape. Here, maybe I'll do another straight one just like that. Okay, now I'm ready to paint. So we're going to start just by, oh, of course we're not ready to paint. We have stuff to add still. We have paint splotches. So let's take our marker and we're going to draw these sort of little loopy lines like I showed you in the video of little paint splotches. And you just keep kind of curving your brush. You just don't let it uncurve. And maybe we'll do a couple roundish ones.
And then I'll come in again with my pen. And I'm going to go around these. Just keeping my brush as curvy as possible because water does not like to have hard edges. For liquid, I mean. Same goes up here. And then a couple down here. Then we have some paint splatters. Okay, so we have to now make these look like they're kind of popping out of the picture. So this is the fun part. This is actually pretty easy. So we're going to imagine that there's some light coming in. Let's do it this way, from here. And just like on my hands, do you see where the shadow is on my hands when I put them down? The shadow is like on this side right here. Can you see that shadow? It's kind of like right here. So we're going to do a shadow just on one side. And we did this before with our hands. We're going to take our graphite pencil and we're just going to color a little bump out just on this side. Okay, so I'm going to color just a little right here, all the way around next to this. And I'm going to color it even like I'm matching this line. Okay, see how I'm matching that line? It doesn't have to be totally perfect because we're going to just smudge it with our fingers in just a second. So I'm going to color it up here. I want it pretty straight. And then I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to smudge it all the way down and around. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to erase this little thing. Okay? So now you can see the shadow. And we're going to do this on the same side of all of these. Just on this side. On the same side of all of these paintbrushes. So it doesn't take that long. And then smudge it out. And it's okay if a little bit gets on the brush itself because that's the shadow side of the brush too. So we're just going to do it again. I can speed this up. Okay, now a couple little tricks. Same thing, we're going to color on this side of the inside of that little bubble. And then here, we're just going to do any lines that go straight up and down like this. Like here maybe, or here. We can color in just this side. Okay, so then we'll rub it in a little bit. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like here, it's hard to cut. You have to think a little bit. It's anything facing this way. So it's any line that's sort of facing this way. And we're just going to color it in a little bit. And then smudge it. Same thing. Maybe like this whole side. Almost this whole side we could do. And I'm really going fast about this. And then I'm going to show you one more trick. And now there's one more trick that Jim Dine uses to make things kind of pop out of the picture. And that is he uses texture behind the painting. And one of the ways he does that is by making things happen in the background that aren't happening in the foreground. So like, I'm going to do what's called a stop and hop, and I love doing this. You just kind of draw, and when you get to a thing, you stop, go to the other side and hop, and you just kind of do this all the way across. Stop, hop, stop, hop. And he has these in that one picture. He had all these lines kind of going back and forth underneath everything. And they looked a little messy, but they kind of looked cool, and they gave it a little bit of texture. And plus, oops, and here it's really easy. If you accidentally draw on it, it's no big deal. But what was cool about them is that they made everything else in front. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try and focus it a little better. But can you see how these are making it sort of look like these paintbrushes are up higher? Makes them pop out a little bit. So putting texture behind them actually makes them look more dimensional. And you can keep going and doing this all the way. Maybe I'll do it all the way down and up behind the brushes, and I'll just speed up the video so you guys can have fun watching this. Okay, right at the end there, it kind of drew right through the brushes, but then I did erase it. Okay, so there's at least some texture down below everything. Okay, now it's time to paint. And I kind of love that rainbow thing, so I might stick with that. But then again, who knows? Maybe I'll just stick with it. So I'm going to get my paint. Yep, I think I'm just going to do red, orange, yellow, green, blue. And I paint up into here. Remember I told you remember that part where I told you my marker was not water soluble? I almost just forgot. So my brush is going to bleed out. Yours won't. It's going to give, it'll be for an interesting picture. And I'm just sort of following this line of my brush. And I'm going to do the same thing with my orange. I'm going to flip this paint around so you can see me, how much I have to really dig in here. And I'm not dig, but mix, 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 mix to get this paint to be really thick enough. And I'm just going to sort of go around here and around there. Red, orange. We'll do a little bit of yellow. Oops, forgot. Look at how forgetful I am. Red, orange, yellow, green. And it just looks like the paintbrush painted a little bit. And then blue. Okay. So that's that. Now I'm going to color these all maybe different colors, or maybe I'm going to mix some. Like I can see that would be kind of fun to mix some green and blue. So come in here and maybe do a little bit of green and a little bit of blue and see what happens. I get a turquoisey in the middle. Good to see with all the light on this. You can turn a little light away or, wait, that didn't, I tried to block the light out for you. Let's see if that works. Nope, doesn't work. Never mind. There's a little light on my document camera. Some green here, greeny here, a little blue in there. Maybe just a whole red one. And you can be a little gloppy when you put this paint in here. I'm obviously, whoa, you didn't even see me paint that one. It was not a clean escape. Here's something fun. I have absolutely no purple on this page yet. So I'm going to give this a nice big purpley splotch. And this one too. I'll make that purpley blue. Or bluish purple or indigo. Come back in with some more purple. Blend it a little bit. That's very pretty. I get like an orange in here. Something orange and dramatic. Yellow. We definitely have to have yellow. At least I do. If you don't know, that's Mrs. Herbst's favorite color. And maybe just a green. All right. And now the fun card begins because I know that all of my students just love to do this. Okay, I'm going to pick a color. We'll start with red. And I'm going to get enough red on my paintbrush so that it's, see how that little splasher, it's kind of drippy. And I'm going to take my brush on my finger and I'm just going to tap it a couple of times. Okay, not do this big splatter thing. I'm just tapping it lightly. But the more drippies I get, I'm going to take maybe some blue. The more drips I kind of get, you know, the more juicy that paint is. So if I use a little extra water, really get it wet. Watch this one. And I don't want it all over, maybe just two or three splashes per color. So that was red, blue, we could get a little yellow, orange. I don't want a ton of orange, I just want a little bit. And that was my phone. Some green. I try not to splash too much in those drops. I did over here, and I actually kind of like it. It just looks messy and exciting. Oops, I didn't do purple. Oops, yellow is usually the last color that I do because it brightens everything considerably. So I'm going to get some purple in here. It's not very wet and not very purpley, so let's get a little more water. So this is very, very watery. And then I'm just going to get my brush in there so that it holds as much as I can possibly hold. And then there's another, I can also tap it like this. Oops, didn't mean that, but it's just another kind of a splatter. And now I'll do the yellow. I'm going to add, make sure your brush is really rinsed out, and a little more water. And then I put my yellow in, and yellow, looks like it just brightens the whole place up. And there you have it. This is a super fun drawing. I'm looking at this now. If you do your shades, your shadows darker than mine, I think it would look even better. But in a little bit less light, you can see how fun this looks up close. Even with my marker bleeding. How did everything turn out? You like your picture? If not, my suggestion is go back and try it again and see what happens. My students get angry at me sometimes when I say that, but that's the best way to get it right, is to do it more than one time. So in any event, I'd love to see your work, especially this one. Anything with a lot of color is right up my alley. So send me your pictures. You know where, at maggie.herbst, at stromanschool.com. So send your paintings in. Have a great weekend. I can't wait to see your work, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I hope you enjoy the weather, get outside a little bit too, and I will see you next week for, I think, our second last video. All right, make sure you send me something. I can't wait to see you guys. Take care. Bye.